last days and times. Tonight we have with us the elder priest of the New Covenant Congregation of Israel, Yaakov Ben Israel. We're going to discuss the new millennium. So we welcome your phone calls once again, 770-559-2999. Elder, welcome to the program.
Thank you, my brother.
You know, Elder, in the brother's music there, he says, warning, warning, warning. And basically he said the word says warning, warning, warning. And that we're coming up on basically the last days in time. And in light of that, when we think about the new millennium, or many people talking about Y2K, nothing more than just year 2000. What, if anything, does the scripture say about this new millennium, and what should we expect?
Well, the new millennium is going to, it says a lot of things about the new millennium. The new millennium is going to bring about the salvation of the children of Israel. It's the end of our 400-year captivity. Yahweh told Abraham in Genesis 15:13 that we'd be in this land for 400 years, that we serve the Europeans and be afflicted by them for 400 years. And right around the end, well, in the 21st century, as they call it, this is when all the prophecies and all the covenants and everything will be fulfilled with the return of the Messiah to redeem the children of Israel out of bondage. I see a lot of people don't seem to understand that it was a period of time that Yahweh said that we were going to be in this land. But by us not knowing who we are and not reading the holy story, then we get a whole lot of jibber jabber from people who don't know anything but what it says in the New Testament. And everybody, if anybody studies the Bible, they'll find out that the New Testament, you can go in the New Testament and read 2 verses, and go back in the Old Testament and read maybe 6, 8 verses, chapters out of each prophet that explains those things. And that's not what we get in the church today. This is why everybody talking about something's going to happen, but don't nobody know what. It's time for our deliverance.
Well, you know, when we talk about our deliverance and redemption and things of that sort, you know, being that we've been in this land for 400 years, I know we've been looking for equality among the nations. You have the civil rights movements and other these movements to try to move us a little closer to so-called equal status. But in reality, you're saying we need to be redeemed out of this nation so that so we can attain to our first estate outside of America.
Of course, this is what it's all about. See, a lot of people, this one world order that they're talking about, if you read the prophets let you know that this one world system is set up for one reason: for Yahweh to destroy the most powerful kingdom that has ever been upon the face of the earth in the process of redeeming his people. And with the weaponry that the people have, that the nations have, that we don't have any weapons, you know, we have, you know, we give up our guns for Janet Jackson tickets and so forth and so. And besides, you know, Yahweh told us that while you're in your enemy's land, obey the laws of the land so to go well with you. So we try not to think about a violent time that's going to come. Now, you know, last week I read a report that came off the internet from the Justice Department, and they got us classified as terrorists. I don't even own a gun, you know, but according to the oracles of the congregation that I belong to, all members must obey federal and state and local laws, you know, but yet and still we're classified as terrorists simply because of who we are. As long as we are alive, we remain a threat to the Europeans, simply because what the Europeans have done is this: they have put God's people in captivity, and as long as one of us is alive, he has a problem. So this is the reason why the nations today are trying to stamp us out, so that the word of God would not be made manifest among the nation, because what the nation practices today has to do with what man taught.
Well, you know, and speaking about that report, it's kind of interesting because many of they're looking for the turn of the century. A lot of terrorist organizations coming on the scene, trying to wreak havoc. Why this lowly so-called Negro, this lowly Israelite, this lowly colored, why be afraid of him? He's been in bondage for 400 years.
Well, the reason why they want to destroy us is because who we are. Like Moses told our people when he brought us out of Egypt, said the Lord your God has chosen you to be a special people to himself above all the people upon the face of the earth, you know. So, and this is what Satan don't want us to know. See, Satan's deal is, you read Revelations 12, when Satan gets thrown out of heaven, he goes to make war with who? The people that brought forth the man-child that was going to rule all nations. Well, when you look at our people for the past 2,000 years, somebody has been making war with us because we're not a nation anymore. We're not called by our tribal names anymore. We're not called by our national name anymore. And what has happened is the whole memory of our people has been caused to cease from among men, just like the prophets say, simply because what happened was the Europeans just didn't write nothing in the history books about us, simply because we haven't been a viable nation since 70 AD.
Well, you know, many people at the turn of the century, they've been hearing about brownouts, blackouts, many catastrophes as far as this the electrical systems and some of the major systems that are in place. But does the scripture in any way allude to any of that stuff? Not
in the year 2000, I'll put it that way. The things that the scripture alludes to, the catastrophes that's going to come up on the earth, are written in Revelations 8 and Revelation 16 chapter. This is when the Creator of all things started to pour his wrath upon the earth with the blowing of the trumpets and the pouring out of the vials of wrath upon the earth. But it's a reason for that. The reason for it is to purge us out, to make us whiter than snow. Because what he's going to be doing, see, he's going to be tearing up the nations. Like Psalms 2 said, why do the heathen rage and the people imagine a vain thing? The kings of the earth and the rulers together have set themselves in array against Yahweh and his anointed, saying, let us bust their bands asunder and cast the cords from among us. Well, let's analyze that. Now, when you ask somebody what's the Creator's name, what did they tell you? Lord, God. Those are titles. They don't know his name, so he has caused his name to cease from among men simply because we are in captivity. Now, the nations say they're going to cast their cords from among us. There are no national groups that we have today. Like, I remember back during the Civil Rights Movement, man, we had CORE, SNCC, you name it, we had groups. Well, what happened was, right at the end of that Civil Rights Movement, they busted all those bands up. Okay. And then when they elected Ronald Reagan, he came in and started taking away a lot of social programs that the federal government had put in place just for our use, you see. And so what they're doing is they're actually fulfilling prophecy, but what they're doing on the spiritual level is making my God angrier and angrier because of the way that the nations are treating us. You know, you spoke about some of those groups of the 60s, SNCC, and some of those organizations, and there was this national front that was put forth. There are many Israelite groups around the country, and but there's no unifying thing other than which is something that they know that they're Israel. How is there any way, or is there any possibility of these organizations being united on a national front, despite the fact that they do have some particular differences? No. We won't be united, simply because the prophets say that we won't be united. I mean, brothers have tried from the days of Garvey. We've tried to come together and unite as put in a national front. But see, what we don't understand is this: governments deal with governments. Governments is not going to deal with any groups of people. God will say, where's the black man's government? Right. You see, so until we come together as a governmental system, and that means our own land, our own kings, our own rules and regulation that was given to us by the hand of the angels of God. You see, once we get that set in place, then the nation's going to have to deal with us. But until we get that in place, what we have to do against his brother. Right, and we have to take the crumbs that fall from master's table, because the curses have to be lived out. The whole period of time that the curses was put on our people has to be lived out, and the curses won't be over until America's destroyed and we get out into the wilderness. And speaking about the last days, I know you on previous occasions you've distinguished between the latter days and the last days. Does the new millennium represent
latter days, last days? How you see that?
Well, the new millennium is going to be the last part of the latter days and the beginning of the last days. Now, I'm not saying that this is going to come about in the year 2000.
Sure.
But during the earlier part of the 21st century, that's when we're going to go out of what is called the latter days. The latter days started when the Messiah showed up.
Okay.
So we lived the latter days for 2,000 years, and then we go into the period of time when the Messiah was set up his thing during the latter days. Let me read a piece of scripture to you about these the last days, and then maybe we can get some understanding. This is in the book of Micah chapter 4. It says, "But in the last days it shall come to pass that the mountain of the house of Yahweh shall be established in the top of the mountains, and it shall be exalted above the hills, and people shall flow unto it. And many nations shall come and say, Come, and let us go up to the mountain of the house of Yahweh, to the house of the God of Jacob. And he will teach us of his ways." Now, the reason why the nations have to be taught of Yahweh's ways is simply because the church tell you we don't have to do that. So naturally, they don't know the 613 laws, statutes, and judgments, so they have to be taught that. There's a story in the Bible where some people conquered our people, and they was in the land, and the Lord sent lions upon them. So what they had to do was, the king said, "Well, look, you go get one of their priests and bring their priest down here so he can teach y'all how to live in this land." So that's what happened, and this is basically what's going to happen. Of course, they worship their own gods anyways, they just put Yahweh on top of them and the rest of them. But this is basically what's going to take place before the earth can have any peace. And man has always talked about peace, but man don't want the peace. And to show you man don't want any peace, man, 365 days of the year, they got gladiators on TV going at each other, right? And there's no peace there. See, the Europeans have a warring nature. You can go back and check history, their history. Look at the Crusades. The bloodiest time that it ever was. The Crusades, they fought wars all over Europe and Africa and Asia. Then they came over here, found this country of peaceful people. People helped them, right? Thanksgiving turkey and all that stuff, right? And then they closed the door and shut them out the fort. Declared open war on the people of this country. They took that, right? Then they got them some slaves, right? Now let's go a little further than that. They fought the Asians, they fought the Africans, they fought the Arabs, and when they couldn't have nobody else to fight, they fought each other. You see, simply because of the warring nature of the people that we're in. So they're going to have to be taught the ways. That's why it says, "And we will walk in his paths. For the law shall go forth from Judah, and the word of Yahweh from Jerusalem." See, the Messiah is coming to set up a government system on the earth so that man can be taught how to live in peace, because man has never lived in peace. And the earth hasn't had any peace since Adam was kicked out of the garden, you know. So the Messiah is coming to set up a governmental system to show man how to live in peace. And then once that takes place, every man is live on his own vine and every man on his own fig tree.
Speaking of Adam, we talked about a show last week from Adam to Noah, and do you see pretty much some of the same conditions of the earth today as it was during the days, say for instance, of Noah?
Well, I see some of the same conditions that was of the day of Nimrod. Nimrod, he wanted to build a tower to heaven, you know, so they could make them a name, right? But look at man today. Man is forcing his way all up into God's heaven, right? Got shuttlecrafts, hover telescopes and everything, right? Going off into space. And this is what I found very, very interesting. When you look at movies and so forth as how the Europeans picture someone from outer space, it's always some monstrous type person, right? Well, consider this. What do you think that's putting in our kids, in our children's heart? See, that these are monstrous type beings, right? So if they do mount up into space, and if they do find anybody, what you think they're going up there for? To make peace? They're going up there to kill everything they can. Like Satan said in Isaiah, the prophet asked Satan in Isaiah 14, say, how are you fallen from heaven, O Lucifer, son of the morning? How are you cast down to the ground, who did weaken the nation? For you have said in your heart, I'm going to exalt my throne above the stars of God. I'm going to ascend in heaven, where you can see this is what he got his people doing. Don't he tell them in the church, say, we going off to heaven? But it's not written it's not written in the place in the scripture. So we can very well see that what's really going on is this. Satan is stirring up the masses of man so that the masses of man would not only destroy us. See, this is why the federal government has classified us as a terrorist group, man. I don't even want a gun, man. You know, I don't even want to own a gun. I don't even like my kid to have play, you know, those little cat pistols and things, you know. But yet and still, when they watch our dirty linen on worldwide TV, and then people come over here and don't associate with us, man, they miss a rich part. I mean, when they find some Hebrews that know what the deal is, they miss a rich part of our culture, because it was like it was back during before World War II. We gave the world a great legacy. They call them Negro spiritualists. You see, and they're still alive today. Of course, the Christians have tried to squash them simply because those songs talked about songs of deliverance, of going back home to Israel. So what the Europeans came up with was, well, that ain't gonna happen. God lied. He told all the prophets lies. He ain't gonna deliver y'all. All of us are going off to heaven, see? But they don't understand that as long as one of us know the truth, the Europeans have a problem. Truth cast to the ground will rise again. Right. So this is the reason why, and when you read in Revelations 12, when Satan is cast out of heaven, he went to make war with the people who brought forth the man-child, because see, we know what the deal is. We know that the nation worship gods of wood and stone. We know that the nation worship gods that they've heaped to themselves. And you can look at it. The Europeans name the days of the week. Right? All of them named pagan gods. Right. They gave us that zodiac, right? All of those are pagan gods, right? They gave us Sunday, Christmas, and Easter, Valentine's Day, what's that other one? Thanksgiving Day.
Happy birthday.
Right, and then New Year's, the worship of Janus, the two-faced God that looks into the past and to the future. They still got all of their paganism right here with us today, and we are going off into these things simply because of what Yahweh told us we was going to do while we were in this captivity. See, they aren't forcing us to do this. We're doing this because of the curses that's upon our people.
Well, you know, speaking about peace, and speaking about the law keep things peaceful.
Of course.
When you abide therein.
Of course. Of course, you go
obeying the, like you say, obeying the laws of the land, and likewise when you talked about the priests having to go back in there to show the people how to operate, operate in the land, they had to do it lawfully. Right. Otherwise, they got the lions on.
Right. Any city that you go in, as long as you abide by the rules and regulation that governs that specific city or that state, whatever, then you're going to be okay. But when you violate that law, then they're going to pick you up, put you in jail, or charge you a fine or something, right? But they're going to tell me, say, well, see, Yahweh don't have any law. All you got to do is have belief. You know what I mean? Faith without works is no good, you see. But Yahweh told us the thing that was going to happen to our people, brother. Let me read something to you here out of the book of Deuteronomy. This is Deuteronomy chapter 4 and verse 15. I'm going to start this at verse 15. Moses told our people, say, take therefore good heed unto yourselves, for you saw no manner of similitude on the day that Yahweh spoke unto you in Horeb out of the midst of the fire. They got men on crosses and everything today, right? Okay, got little angels flying around with wings on the back, right? All that junk, right? Verse 16. Lest you corrupt yourselves and make you a graven image, the similitude of the figure of any of the likeness of male or female, the likeness of any beast that is on the earth, the likeness of any winged fowl that flieth in the air, the likeness of anything that creepeth on the ground, the likeness of any fish that is in the water beneath, and lest you lift up your eyes unto heaven, and when you see the sun, the moon, and the stars, even all the host of heaven, should be driven to worship and serve them, which the Lord your God have divided divided unto all the other nations upon the earth.
Right.
This is why the nations is often in paganism, because Yahweh gave them up to that. But what he did, he appeared to us and told our people, said, don't you make no similitude, nothing to represent me, right? But then we have our problems too, because we got just like the Christians have their symbol, the Muslims have their symbol, we got some Hebrew brothers that have a symbol too, a 6-point star.
Menorahs.
Right, because, well, most of the Esau uses menorah nowadays, but basically what we use is that 6-point star. We say this is the Star of David, right? The star that was supposed to rise out of Israel, out of Jacob, was the Messiah.
Right.
He wasn't no 6-point brother, you know what I mean? Right. But what it shows is this, that we've gotten off into a bunch of paganism simply because we're following what the nations are doing. You see, and this is why Yahweh said he's going to visit to us.
Right.
Of course.
And we prefer, because we want to be reckoned among the nations, just like when Israel wanted a king. They said, we want a king.
Right.
We want somebody to go before us, just like the nations have somebody to go before them.
Right, and like Yahweh told Samuel, said, Samuel, do what they say. Right. Give them a king, but tell them what kind of man is going to rule over them, right? So it's not you that they're rejecting, Samuel. See, they could see Samuel, you see. So it's not you they're rejecting me. Right. Simply because our people want to get off into that paganism of the other nations. See, we like to follow Mike. See, we like whatever master do, we like to do it, you see. And this is basically what Yahweh told us not to do. But he told us why we... Let me read something else to you out of Jeremiah here. Jeremiah chapter 16. Okay. And I'm going to pick this up at verse 13 now. Yahweh told us if we didn't keep his law, he's going to cast us out that land, right? Okay. This is Jeremiah 16 and verse 13. He says, therefore will I cast you out of this land into a land that neither you, neither your fathers have known. And there shall you serve other gods day and night, where I will show you no favor. Therefore, behold, the days come, said the Lord, that it shall no more be said that the Lord liveth that brought up the children of Israel out of the land of Egypt. But Yahweh liveth that brought up the children of Israel out of the land of the north and from the lands whither he had driven them, and I will bring them again unto their land that I have given them. Now, over here a little further, in verse, same chapter, Jeremiah 16 and verse 19, he said, O Yahweh, my strength and my fortress and my refuge in the day of affliction, the Europeans shall come unto you from the end of the earth and shall say, surely our fathers have inherited lies, vanities, and things wherein there is no profit. Shall a man make gods to himself that are no gods? You see? Lies, vanity, and things wherein there's no profit. Brother, what? Okay, Yahweh told us, look, your law is going to, this my law is my ways. It's going to make you holy. It's your wisdom, your knowledge, your understanding among all the nations, right? He said, if you keep my law, the nation's going to come on, you're going to rule the earth. And the nation going to come unto you and say, what people is there so great with laws, statutes, and judgments so just as these people here have? But see, we don't want to deal with that. No, we want to do, we want to be entertained, man.
We'll be right back. We're going to the round of road report. See you right back.
Greetings, this is Brother Maskell Ben Yisrael with the Around the World News Report. Tonight we have Ruth Yisrael back in the studio with us tonight. Glad to see that you're back in the studio, Ruth.
Thanks, Maskell.
At the top of the news tonight, Yahweh continues to do his will. In Boost, Turkey, the death toll there is 452 people, in addition to 2,386 people being injured after an earthquake there, measured 7.2 on the Richter scale. Washington has sent a rescue team and shelters for 10,000 homeless quake victims, as well as making available $1 billion in loans to help Turkish businessmen to finance reconstruction, says President Clinton. Showing love of thy neighbor as thyself. In a joint news conference with Turkish President Suleiman Demirel, President Clinton was reported as saying he endorses Turkey's long-standing aims to join the European Union, and he expects the EU to focus the proper perspective on the matter. In Moscow, a new Russian jurist group founded. The organization was formed to aim at helping local jurist institutions such as schools and community centers. Spokesman for the Federation of Jurist Communities, Broch Guerin, says the group will sponsor a legal fund to counter anti-Semitism. The group seems to have sprung up after some members of the Parliamentarian made anti-Semitic comments, which can be illegal under Russian law. Also in the news, Jerusalem. The Israelis and the Palestinians are facing yet again troubles concerning land in the West Bank. It seems as though the Israeli-Palestinian summit did not settle the question on which 5% of the West Bank of Israel would be transferred to Palestinian rule. Israel's Prime Minister Ehud Barak and Palestinian leader Yasser Arafat failed to reach an agreement during an unscheduled meeting on yesterday. Israeli officials say the Palestinians want more populated centers to be included. They have demanded the inclusion of areas with a larger Palestinian population. It was reported that Mr. Yasser Arafat did not sign the redeployment maps as presently drawn up. The Palestinians are expecting full or partial control of 39% of the West Bank by the beginning of the year 2000. Coming up later in the Around the World report, China and the daughter of Babylon strikes a deal, or should one say, an agreement. Now here's the community update with Ruth Yisrael.
Thanks. Another tide is lifting African Americans to unprecedented levels in the areas of employment and income. But blacks are still lagging behind whites in attaining access to health care, educational benefits, and incarceration rates. The study also concludes there is a decrease in black out-of-wedlock births and a rise in black high school completion rates, indicating the black community has taken a more active role in improving their overall future. In time, everything will improve, for our captivity in this country is coming to a close. In Mississippi, 3 white men were found guilty of killing a black sharecropper who was beaten by a mob and dumped off a bridge nearly 30 years ago. The jury originally were deadlocked, but deliberated another 6 hours before returning a guilty verdict. The 3 men face a maximum of 20 years in prison. What a small price to pay for murder. And turning to our health watch, new clues for the HIV virus. A short time after it invades the body, the virus that causes AIDS creates a reservoir of infection that cannot be stamped out by antiviral drugs and may resist vaccines. The study in the Science Journal sheds a new light on how quickly HIV is able to establish a chronic drug-resistant infection. And finally tonight, a look into the world of sports. 2 mighty gladiators fought on Saturday night to win purses in excess of $15 million each. The fight was one that many found entertaining. But when viewing such athletic prowess as these 2 men displayed, we have to wonder, when does it all end? With the continued rise of black violence, lack of educational and economic opportunities, and last but not least, from whence we came, will we continue to allow our children as well as ourselves to view this barbaric, slave mentality, money-hungry industry as purely entertainment? If so, we may as well return to the field and pick cotton. I'm Ruth, and back to my skill. Thank you.
Thanks, Ruth. After 6 days of negotiations, the United States Trade Representative Charlene Barshevsky and China's Trade Minister Shi Gunsong signed an agreement that would remove trade barriers, which was one of China's problems upon trying to enter into the World Trade Organization. President Bill Clinton was reported as saying the agreement will create unprecedented opportunities for American farmers, workers, and companies to compete successfully in China's market, while bringing increased prosperity to the people of China. This looks good for President Clinton following the U.S. aircraft bombing of the Chinese embassy in Belgrade back in May. This has been the Around the World News Report with Brother Maskell Ben Yisrael and the Community Update with Ruth Yisrael. Now back to the Sign of the Times with Daniel Ben Yisrael. Shalom.
Hi, welcome back to Signs of the Times. We're talking to the elder priest of the New Covenant Congregation of Israel, Yaakov Ben Israel, and this is our Ask the Elder segment, where we give you, the audience, an opportunity to give us a call, to give the elder a call, to inquire of his knowledge and understanding about the things that we're talking about tonight. Tonight we're talking about the new millennium. So welcome your phone calls at 770-559-2999. That's 770-559-2999. Elder, before we went to the break, I was going to ask you a question. After you read Jeremiah 16, you said lies, vanities, and things wherein there is no profit.
Mm-hmm.
What equates to the biggest lie that has been given to us as a nation of people by the other nations or the nations that's in power?
The two biggest lies I know of, brother, is that the first lie is that the Israelis are the children of Israel. Now that's the first lie, because the Bible tell you they was black.
Okay.
And the next biggest lie they tell, and all the religions talk about this, is that they're going off to heaven. And it's not mentioned any place in the Bible where you going off to heaven any place. The Messiah, but it's all through the prophets that the Messiah is going to come and save his people out of captivity and set up a kingdom on this earth. See, and people know how they've treated us, man. All the nations has had us in captivity. Right. This is why Yahweh got something against them. He said, whosoever touch you, touch the apple of my eye. I'm going to recompense it to you. As far as America is concerned, the daughter of Babylon, he said, I gave my people into your hand, and upon the very ancient have you very heavily laid the yoke. I mean, we've seen some of the things that happened during that slave trade and so forth. As a matter of fact, we've seen some of the atrocities that happen even today. But, so we can very well see that Yahweh is going to recompense the nations for what they have done to his people. He has to.
So if we're not going to heaven, and you know, we probably lost 10 viewers because you said we're not going to heaven. But if we're not going to heaven, where are we going?
We're going back to the land of Israel. We're going to live in the land that was given to our father Abraham. We were given the land by covenant. By a blood covenant. We were given the land from the river Nile to the great river Euphrates, the whole Fertile Crescent, which encompassed Eden and the garden that was east in Eden. All of that was God's land, and he gave it to, he brought us out of Eden. We were the last nation on the earth. And he just didn't deal with the other nation. And he raised us up. And he set us in that land as his representatives on the earth. And then, well, go in the New Testament. Weren't everybody who went and talked about the word of God to other people, weren't the Hebrew Israelites? But today what we get is that we get a pope that's saying, well, I'm a direct successor of St. Peter. Christ says salvation is of the Jews, not the Christians. You see, so what we see is this. We begin to see that what man has done was taken the legacy that our fathers wrote, and because we were miseducated, what they did was they fed it back to us in verses and phrases, and now all of the conferences that are set up by Europeans. And most of the conferences that are religious denominations that we practice today are less than 500 years old. But our people don't care.
Right.
See, they don't care. Right. They say, well, okay, so the new kids on the block, so what? You know, this is what I want to do. Well, this is the same reason why we were brought over here as slaves, because of what they wanted, the people wanted to do instead of following the word.
Well, you know, Eddie, when we have you on the program, we get the phones lit up, and I believe we got some callers on the phone now. So, caller, go ahead and state your name, please.
Shalom, this is Brother Daweed.
Shalom, brother.
All right. Elder, I also read that article that you spoke about earlier that was from the FBI, and I found it pretty interesting that they would classify a group of people as terrorists, and in their own report say that they've displayed absolutely nothing, no violence or anything that would make them think that they would do anything in the future to cause any problems, but yet and still they were classified as terrorists. But my question to you is, when you say, I've heard you say many times that we are captives, is it an element of our captivity that the same government that never wanted to give us any rights is now using their same power to say that we are now terrorists, knowing how powerless we are?
Of course it is, my brother. That's the reason.
Appreciate your call.
That's what they're doing, see, is, well, America washes our dirty linen on worldwide TV. We all know that. And what she's doing now is she's trying to stir up all of the other religious factions and different other nation of people are further against us by saying, well, these black folks say you got to watch them, because see, they're preparing to do this and they're preparing to do that. Well, I'm preparing to receive my salvation. I ain't thinking about, folks want to fight, then let them go and fight, But the thing of it is they are, the reason why they're doing all of this is just to make our people look bad, especially the Hebrews, make us look bad in front of all the nation, because let me tell you something, anybody who read this Bible here know that the Hebrews were represented in heaven. When you go in Revelations 12 chapter, it was a woman in heaven that was clothed with the sun, the moon of her feet, and a crown of 12 stars on her head. And she had conceived, and she was ready to bring forth the man-child that was going to rule all nations, right? And that's who Satan went to make war with, was that faction of it. And truly, so you can very well see what's going on is this: the nations are just planting everything that they can. They're aiming it right at us. So when the century do come about and man start getting his governments in place, we haven't got a governmental system for them to deal with, then we can very well see that we're on the way out.
Well, and the brother brought out the thing in the report saying that there's no record of them being, Israel being violent or anything like that, but then they deal with two extremes.
Right.
So they really just kind of say, well, the mainstream Israel, peaceful people, and do the things that need for them to do in terms of maintaining some kind of peace.
Well, what really happened, you have to go back into the past of these various groups and see why they have the grounds, why the federal government is saying the things about some of the Hebrew groups that they are. Like you said, there are two extremes. Right. One was accused of racketeering, right? Convicting. Of racketeering, right? And because all of these things was proven. Then the other one, they had some criminal activity that was going on with that group. You see, so we can very well see that the government has something against those groups. But see, that has nothing to do with the thousands of Hebrew Israelite groups, the other groups that's in this country. Because what we're trying to do is this: we're trying to live peaceably in the land. Right. You see, because don't nobody want the trouble. But we know it's going to come simply because the Messiah said there's going to come a time when whosoever kill you would think he did Yahweh a favor. Right. And when you look at the state of our people today, when you look at the state of our people, brother, we're in bad shape. Right. We're in really bad shape. We got 3 callers on hold. Let's go with this first one. Sister Nairi, go ahead.
Hi, I was just thumbing through the channels and I stopped by and I was listening to what you two were saying, and I was just wondering how, since there's so many different denominations of religion, I was just wondering how does one be sure that your particular interpretation of the Bible is the truth?
Okay, thank you for your call.
Let me and my sister, let me read something to you that the Messiah had to say himself, and maybe you'll understand why we practice the things that we practice. This is in if you got your book, turn it to St. John chapter 4, and I'm going to read something to you out of that. St. John chapter 4, and I'm going to start this at verse I'm going to read verse. I'm going to start at verse 19. But what you do is start reading at the Messiah had went to a well, and he was sitting down on a well, and a woman came up to him, and he asked her, say, give me the drink. And then his apostles were very surprised that he even talked to the woman about giving him a drink. And it came up a discussion about where the people worship at. And let me read something to you that the woman said and what the Messiah himself said. This is in St. John 4 and verse 19. The woman said unto him, Sirs, I perceive that you are prophets. Our fathers worship in this mountain, and you say that in Jerusalem is the place where men ought to worship. Then Yeshua said unto her, Woman, believe me, the hour comes when you shall neither in this mountain nor yet at Jerusalem worship the Father. You don't know what you worship. We know what we worship, for salvation is of the Jews. The people that went and taught the word were Jews. They were called Christians by the same people that called us a bunch of other choice names today. But if you read in the book of Acts, Paul even said that he was a Jew of Tarsus. Now let me read something else to you here, my sister. This is in the book of Zechariah. If I can find Zechariah. I have to go back here to find Zechariah, you know. This is in the prophet Zechariah. Let me read something to you that Zechariah had to say pertaining to the millennial period. It says, I'm going to pick this up at Zechariah 8 and verse 20. You read the whole chapter. It's about the house that's going to be, when the Messiah, what's going to happen when the Messiah come and set up his kingdom. But I'm going to pick this up at Zechariah 8 and verse 20. It says, Thus said Yahweh of hosts, it shall yet come to pass that there shall come people, and the inhabitants of many cities, and the inhabitants of one city shall go to another, saying, Let us go speedily to pray before Yahweh and to seek Yahweh of hosts. I will go also. Yes, many people and strong nations shall come to seek Yahweh of hosts in Jerusalem and to pray before Yahweh. Thus saith Yahweh of hosts, in those days it shall come to pass that 10 men shall take hold out of all languages of the nation, shall even take hold to a skirt of him that is a Jew, saying, We will go with you, because we have heard that God is with you. Christ was king of the Jews. When he was born, the people came and had the three travelers, the brothers that had returned back to Jerusalem because they saw a star. They came and said, Where is he that is born king of the Jews? When Pilate asked him, say, Are you the king of the Jews? He said, You said it. See, but my kingdom is not of this earth. He said, To this end was I born. You see, and then when we go in the New Testament and read in the New Testament, let me show you what I mean. This is in Romans 11 chapter, Romans 11, and I'm going to pick this up at Romans 11 and verse 26. Paul said, And so all Israel shall be saved, as it is written, There shall come out of Zion the deliverer, and shall turn ungodliness away from Jacob. For this is my covenant unto them, when I shall take away their sin. As concerning the gospels, they are enemies for your sake, but as touching the election, they are beloved for the Father's sake, for the gift and calling of God are without repentance. He can't change from these things simply because these were covenants that he made with our fathers. And the things that we talk about, my dear, these things are not my interpretation. What we do is this. We read the Word. And you got education. I'm quite sure you understood what that said.
Speaking of the Word, let's let people know where we can be reached. We're at 3901A Covington Highway. That's Decatur, Georgia. The telephone, and that's Decatur 30032. The telephone number is 442865869. Also, there's a website located at www.thencci.com. Eric, I see we have you on hold, so Eric, go ahead.
Yes. Elder, how you all doing?
Oh, fine. How you doing?
Okay. I've been trying to talk to a lot of Christians and a lot of Europeans, too. And no one still can tell me where the real Jesus come from. They say, every time I ask, well, what about Yahweh? Yeshua. it's still a living God. Oh, then where did Jesus come from? I want to know where the word comes from. So somebody ain't telling me something right. I need to know the truth.
Thank you for your call.
Well, you have to understand when you're dealing with that, my brother, you have to understand that the English language is less than 500 years old. And they added the J and the U to the English language. There was no way that you could have said Jesus back in the days when the brother walked the earth. His name was Yeshua, which means Yahweh's salvation. They called him, he never was called Emmanuel, right? That means God is with us, right? So what they called, what they named him was this, Yahweh's salvation, and that's what he was. He came to redeem those that was under the First Testament, and in the process of redeeming us, he gave us the Spirit for us to go out and teach the world. But the world invaded our city and put us in captivity simply because Yahweh was kicking us out of the land because of what our fathers did. But see, the world, he did what he always has done. He used the other nations as a strap.
Right.
But he told us while we in our enemy's land that we, you seek to me. You seek to the things that are right, and I'm going to save you. Let me read something to you out of Ezekiel chapter 34. I'm going to pick this up at verse 24. Okay. 22 rather. He says, therefore will I save my flock, and they shall no more be a prey. And I will judge between cattle and cattle. And I will set up one shepherd over them, and he shall feed them, even my servant David. He shall feed them, and he shall be their shepherd. And I, Yahweh, will be their Elohim, and my servant David, a prince among them. I, Yahweh, have spoken it. And I will make with them a covenant of peace, and will cause the evil beast to cease out of the land, and they shall dwell safely in the wilderness and sleep in the woods. And I will make them and the place around my hill a blessing, and I will cause showers of blessings to come down in this season. There shall be showers of blessings. So we can very well see that what the nations is talking about and what the Bible is actually saying is two different things. What man has managed to do is this. Man gave us a new God. Call him Jesus, Jesus. They gave us a new God. The brother's name was Yeshua.
Okay.
Now, when you deal with Jesus, you don't have to keep God's law.
And you got an image.
Right. When you deal with Yeshua, a rich young ruler came. Yeshua walked perfect. He said, be you followers of me. A rich young ruler came to him and said, Lord, what do I have to do to inherit eternal life? He said, you know the commandments, keep it.
Right.
He said, which? He named 5 of the commandments that deal with man dealing with man, right? Well, the man knew he had to love God, right? So he dealt with the 5 commandments of man dealing with man, right? He said, all of these have I done from my youth. He said, well, okay, go sell what you have and come and follow me. And the young man couldn't do that because he couldn't go beyond the law because he had great possession. So what we see is this. We see that when the Europeans came on the scene with that Christianity junk, brother, what they did was this. They gave us a different God. They gave us a different set of holidays to keep. Nothing that they do is written in this book here. But yet still they're going to tell me, say, well, we're serving God. I speak in tongues. And then start talking that jibber jabber, and the church isn't edified because don't nobody know what's said.
Everybody seems to be mad.
Right, everybody's crazy.
Let's go back to the phones. We got Joseph on the phone. Joseph, go ahead, sir.
Hi, how are you all tonight?
Well,
Very well, sir.
Great. Maybe you dealt with it on another show before, but and I just never heard it. But I just wanted to know, how do you? I know the Christians view Jesus as.
We're getting some feedback. Joseph, let me ask, if you can turn your television down, we're getting some feedback here in the studio. Go ahead and ask your question.
Okay. My question is, how do you view Jesus? I know the Christians view Jesus as the Christ, the Son of the living God, Savior.
Okay.
Muslims view Jesus as just simply a prophet of God. I just want to know, how do you view Jesus?
Okay, thank you for the call, sir.
Well, I view Jesus as a pagan God, but I view the Son of God, Yeshua, that was born to the Virgin Mary. I view him as the one that came to redeem the children of Israel. Now, and to show you that he came to redeem the children of Israel, see, Israel had to be saved first. And then after Israel was saved, then the rest of the nations could be saved. Let me read you something out of St. Matthew chapter 15.
We got about a minute and a half.
Okay, it says, Then Yeshua went from there and departed in the coast of Tyre and Sidon. And behold, a woman of Canaan came up out of the same coast and cried unto him, saying, Have mercy on me, O Adonai, you son of David. My daughter is grievously vexed with the devil. But he didn't answer a word. But he answered and said unto her, I'm not sent but to the lost sheep of the house of Israel. See, all this is tied over with the Passover lamb and the atonement sacrifice and all of the blood sacrifice. See, that wasn't no good no more because our people used that as a crutch. Right. So, seeing that Yahweh had said blood for blood, we needed a human sacrifice. This is why he came unto his own. You see, and his own didn't receive, a lot of his own didn't receive him. A lot of people say, well, see, Paul said, well, we going to the Jews. Paul didn't have nothing to do with what Peter was doing. Right. Because Peter was one to give him the keys to the kingdom. Paul was sent to the Europeans. And everybody want to tell me what Paul had to say to the Europeans. I said, well, what did Paul have to say about Israel? Right. Paul said in Romans 11th chapter, and so it is written, all Israel shall be saved. There shall come a deliverer out of Zion that shall turn ungodliness away from Jacob. And this is what's happening all over the country, brother. There are brothers that's out here, they got camps going, that's gathering the flock, that's teaching the flock that they got to walk in Yahweh's righteous ways in order to receive that spirit, because that spirit is going to be the only thing that's going to protect us in the calamities that's getting ready to come up on the earth.
Well, with that in mind, we're going to go ahead and let our viewers know where we can be located at 3901A Covington Highway. That's Decatur, Georgia 30032. There's also a telephone number, 404-286-5869. There's someone manning that phone right at